A sweaty guy, holding a phone in his hand, asks his subscribers if they see a huge insect that the blogger shows to his camera. Someone shoots it in parallel, and suddenly, as if out of nowhere, a black something with red eyes jumps out. Blogger screams and drops his phone. The video goes viral on the internet. Someone asks if it's definitely not fake. But the speaker is called an idiot, because it's not up. There are a dime a dozen such videos. The place of conversation of the three friends is the university auditorium. In addition to them, there are several other people in it. The boy does not give up and continues to ask questions without addressing anyone in particular. Where could such a huge insect come from? The interlocutor, dressed in a green shirt, replies that he no longer looks like a little bug, but a person, doesn't he? The guy in the hat, who keeps looking at his phone, talks about how cool it is to have such wings, like some kind of superhero. His interlocutor laughs. Here their conversation is interrupted by Soo Chang, a guy with bright green cat eyes, brown hair with bangs on one side of his forehead and a cute facial expression, who came up and took the phone from the sitting person. He asks what the guy sees in the wings of an insect. The full name of the person who came up is Chang Soo Chang. He is exactly 20 years old. He calls such an ability pretty nasty. Soo Chang quickly turns the topic to a more pressing one. The girls offered to go for a drink with them. The others begin to whine why Soo Chang does not suffer from a hangover and they went only yesterday. The third interlocutor in a tight black t-shirt calls Soo Chang a bump, so he wants to. He doesn't want to, but he has to go to every such event. The second one says that the girls are only going for the sake of Soo Chang. Then some girl abruptly hugs him from behind and asks, when were they against other guys? The guys explode from their seats and, without looking at Soo Chang's confused face, bow low to the girl and inform her that they will be happy to join. The girl pulls her lips in a desire to kiss Soo Chang at least on the cheek. As you could see, he's a pretty smart and attractive guy. His Instagram has more than 5,000 followers, and school grades are almost always on a plus. Soo Chang is invited to every student party with a sea of alcohol and beautiful girls. If we compare it with the food chain, then he is its ruler, who is at the very top, and there are a lot of other nameless people under him. He imagines himself wearing a crown and thinks with a satisfied smile that such reasoning could be called infantile. But a person, like an animal, lives in a group. All creatures, such as lions or ants, have a similar joint lifestyle. Each of them has some sort of ranks. Soo Chang is the object of envy of other people who follow him around. Therefore, it was easy for him to imagine himself the strongest. Such a university life, with parties every day, delicious snacks on them and attractive girls, a bunch of people who look at him as the center of the universe, Soo Chang would not want to give up. A guy in a black t-shirt gently elbows Soo Chang and asks if it's okay for him to go out drinking with other girls. He does not understand anything and looks in complete confusion in his green eyes in the direction where the interlocutor pointed his finger at him. On the other side of the street, a young girl, Mai-hee, with short hair of a delicate pink color, calls Soo Chang by name. She is wearing a black short skirt and a thin white blouse with ruffles on the chest. A small blue handbag hangs on her shoulder. Three guys walking with Soo Chang communicate non-verbally with each other. One calls him and Mai-hee the official couple of their faculty. Another reminds them that they are not dating yet, and the third says how lucky he is. The girl is offered to go for a drink with them and is lured by the fact that Soo Chang is also coming. And Mai-hee, without even hesitating, agrees, announcing her decision to shouts all over the street. Soo Chang sees her reaching out to him, wanting to hug him, and a friend calls Kim Min-hee a drunk. The guy's eyes widen when Min-hee's palms almost touch Soo Chang's back, and he makes a sharp movement, beating off her hands. The guy's face twists, sweat begins to flow down his neck in rivulets, and some kind of storm seems to flare up inside, similar to the explosion of a small bomb. Friends are worried about him, asking what's wrong with him, but Soo Chang doesn't explain anything and just apologizes to the guys. He says that something is not good for him and asks to go without him. Soo Chang walks away from them with quick steps. Friends can't help but notice that he cleaned up so abruptly, leaving them. Finally, I threw that I overdid it yesterday at the SH faculty, so I also ran 5 laps. But not everyone believes it. Do they even have such a faculty at the university? No one from the company can answer the question of what is happening to their friend. And meanwhile, Soo Chang's back is moving further and further away. The guy walks down the street all alone, blaming himself for such a stupid excuse. His repertoire of excuses has completely outlived itself. Soo Chang has one secret that no one knows about. At a pedestrian crossing, he notices a guy with blonde hair and a black mask on half of his face. Soo Chang compares his position and the position of this guy, and it turns out that they are quite similar. The blonde has changed a lot since the beginning of the semester. They say that he was a guy who got along well with people and was always in the center of everyone's attention. However, for what reason did he become a loner? It's pretty simple. The reason for this is complexes. All this is because you show people what you are ashamed of. You try to hide, but predatory eyes still continue to look at you, and you no longer feel at ease. Soo Chang heard rumors that one day the blonde went too far with a drink at a party and suddenly an allergy appeared on his face. Maybe it was from drinking alcohol, or maybe from some other bullshit. His face was covered with puffy blisters and bumps. His fingers were swollen. At that moment, he saw an expression of complete disgust on the faces of his classmates, who had recently been his friends. The guy didn't come up with anything better than to take and run away. After that incident, he lost confidence in himself and is now completely alone. Soo Chang follows this guy with his eyes as he walks away with his head bowed. For him, everything that happened was obvious. Every person has something that he would like to hide from others by all means. Soo Chang enters a tall multi-story building. For him, telling someone about his secret is like showing his vulnerability. Already in the apartment, the guy takes off his shoes and takes off his outerwear. Why someone like him talks about this topic is a very obvious question. Soo Chang takes off his t-shirt, and under them you can see a layer of bandages tightly hugging his chest. Removing the bandages together behind the t-shirt, he answers this question. Since everything is extremely transparent, he also has one complex, namely 4 large insect wings on his back. They are transparent, with black edging at the edges and thin lines along the entire length. The first pair of wings begins just below the neck, and the second on the shoulder blades. Soo Chang recalls calling such an ability vile in his company. She really can't be beautiful. The wings, in his opinion, are simply disgusting. In the bathroom mirror, he looks at them contemptuously, as if wanting to tear them out of his body. The reason the wings are vile is because they are dragonfly wings. The insects resemble Soo Chang's bright green eyes in color. While still a high school student, he sprayed the room from dragonflies mercilessly attacking the boys' apartment. But suddenly the insects turned into powder together. It was completely unintentional that Soo Chang inhaled this powder, and then he was tormented by nausea, and that night he hardly fell asleep. And the next morning, when he woke up in a better condition, Soo Chang saw wings appear on his back in the mirror. This led the boy into confusion and horror. After the first shock came off, he huddled under the table, pulling his knees up to his face and throwing a blue plaid over his head, asking himself what would happen if people saw this. They will consider him a monster, no doubt. Will they catch him and do experiments? The fear that someone would see this ugliness suffocated Soo Chang, did not allow him to sleep properly. With all his might, he tried to hide his wings and kept his distance from others, refused to go into people, thereby remaining without close friends. He didn't want anyone around him to see the wings, and so his life passed in solitude. No one found out about anything, and thanks to this forced loneliness, he was able to focus on going to university. But this whole plan had one drawback. Soo Chang was always and everywhere alone. He lived every day with anguish, but could not do anything. Therefore, after entering the university, he decided to change himself and first of all cut his hair, then began to solve the problem with wings. Soo Chang found a way to hide them. He tightened them with bandages, and although it turned out to be a little uncomfortable, the solution to this problem turned out to be quite simple. After that, he changed inside. Soo Chang gained self-confidence, namely, he always began to walk with a bright expression on his face, paid more attention to his hairstyle and clothes, looking neat and friendly, became polite to everyone. He had changed dramatically. He was no longer as withdrawn and detached as at school. He recalled the words that self-confidence is the first condition for great beginnings. Much to Soo Chang's surprise, people quickly began to reach out to him, and now Sweet Mai He timidly asks for his phone number, looking away in embarrassment. However, the wings still spoiled his life. If anyone sees this ugliness, then Soo Chang's student life, filled with fun, friends and booze, will come to an end. Still standing in the bathroom, the guy washes his face with cold water. He would have loved to spend time with Mai He. However, it was at this moment that something happened. Wings constantly serve as an obstacle for Soo Chang. They seem to remind you that you are still part of the guy, and if you do not take off your clothes for a long time, the muscles begin to get very numb, as if you have been sitting on one chair for a long time. He stretches, spreading his wings. Therefore, sometimes Soo Chang comes so abruptly, like this time, to leave, because it is impossible for anyone to see his wings, especially Mai He. Hanging a towel around his neck, he opens the bathroom door and confronts Mai He nose to nose. It is unclear who starts screaming first, Soo Chang or the girl. The guy does it out of surprise and horror that Mai-hee can see his wings, and the girl because the guy she likes, standing in front of her with almost no clothes on. When she is outraged about this, still red with shame, Soo Chang replies that she imagined it. The guy tries to calm down, but cold sweat flows down in streams, and his heart is pounding like mad. Judging by the reaction, Mai-hee didn't notice the wings. Isn't that right? He, hunched over, rests his hand on the door and asks how she got into him. The girl says the door was open. The guys offered to go for a drink at Soo Chang's and told her to go first, giving the address in advance. Soo Chang's face is distorted with anger. No one has informed him. Mai-hee is silent for a while, and then asks if the friend really left because he felt bad. She notices that this is not the first time that Soo Chang has dropped them so abruptly. They are standing on opposite sides of the door, and if it was open, it would not be difficult for Mai-hee to see the guy's wings. She is genuinely worried about him. Often Soo Chang looks like he has something in pain. Is he hiding something from them? Soo Chang is having a hard time going through this moment. In many ways, Mai-hee hit the bull's eye. He barely squeezes out a negative answer and feels how much is narrowing around him, leaving him in the dark, alone with himself and the big wings behind his back. He feels frankly lousy. He doesn't even try to pretend that he is the sunny guy everyone knows him to be. Mai-hee puts a bag of beer and snacks on the floor, and then sternly asks Soo Chang to come out. He can't even utter a word of a messenger out of surprise. Mai-hee sits down at the door and says that Soo Chang just has to go to the cinema with her today, and she will sit here until he comes out. Soo Chang's head looks out of the slightly ajar door, not believing in her words. When he convinces her of the truth, he reminds her that he is actually feeling bad, and she may not cook here. However, Mai-hee is not led to this. She feels the lie in his words, and this only makes Soo Chang more tense. It can be seen from him that he is not ill and is constantly immersed in his thoughts, being alone. She puts down her red phone and nervously wraps her hands around her knees. Mai-hee realizes that he is hiding something from her. She is sad because Soo Chang does not tell anything, and this makes the girl sad and hurt. Mai-hee recalls an incident that happened at the beginning of the semester when Soo Chang saved him from a student constantly following Mai-hee. He identified himself and politely asked to get lost. Undoubtedly, Soo Chang remembers about that incident, and Mai-hee, without hesitation, declares that it was selfish and ridiculous, and she did not really understand why he got into someone else's business. Such a truth makes Soo Chang choke on his own saliva. But now Mai-hee is very grateful to him. She looks at him with her kind brown eyes and says that if Soo Chang doesn't hate her, then she would also like to meddle in something else. It seems that Soo Chang is gathering strength to reveal the truth about herself to her friend. He listens to her saying that if Soo Chang is very worried about something, then she will support him anyway. In his thoughts, he thanks Mai-hee for such support, because in his life he has received it from very few people. He opens the door, but Soo Chang is already wearing a black t-shirt on his body, and his light smile is shining on his face again, riveting the eye. He tells her that he is ready to go to the cinema. Soo Chang can't show her anything, not Mai-ho. Perhaps the fact that he didn't tell her anything was the right decision. When the couple is already out on the street, someone's silhouette begins to watch them. Judging by his clothes, he is not very rich. His shadow is very long and does not look like an ordinary human at all. Firstly, it is larger than a human shadow, and secondly, instead of hands it has mantis claws. Very close by, a green mantis is sitting on a blade of grass, chewing the small body of a dragonfly. The unknown utters one phrase that he smells the feed, and the wings of the dragonfly crumble. The streets of a bustling metropolis. Some couple from a girl and a guy calls out to Mai-hee, offering to take part in the survey. Mai-hee immediately asks what kind of survey this is, and Soo Chang meanwhile almost tries to stop her. But it's useless. Mai-hee has already run away. The movie will start soon. Besides, suddenly these people are some kind of scammers. Mai-hee is too kind and couldn't refuse them. The girl brags about being given pink caramel, and Soo Chang blushes and feels awkward about something. Suddenly an idea comes to his mind. Mai-hee and Soo Chang are sitting in the cinema hall, apparently watching a horror movie. Judging by how several people in the room, including a girl, are scared while looking at the screen. Soo Chang thinks that if they start dating, then the guy will have to tell about his wings someday. The girl, having spilled soda on her blouse, leaves the hall for the toilet, leaving the guy alone. If Mai-hee sees him like this, will he be treated like before? But he still stops at the thought that she will be afraid to be with him. No living soul should know that Soo Chang is a monster. He decides that for now everything should run its course. Suddenly, the screen goes out in the hall. The audience is swarming, swearing that everything was cut off at the most interesting. An employee runs into the room, shouting that an evacuation is being announced and everyone urgently needs to leave the cinema. There is a suspicious object inside the building with a weapon. Two girls sitting closest to the exit ask if this is some kind of event, but the employee responds with a shout that this is not some kind of joke and they urgently need to leave the hall. Suddenly the man's face is distorted by a grimace and the next second his body is pierced by a stranger's claw. A terrible panic begins. Everyone runs away in different directions, like cockroaches. The attacker has a dangerous predatory smile on his face. Soo Chang stands at his seat, drenched in cold sweat, and cannot believe that a man has just been killed in front of his eyes. He needs to get out, but Mai-hee has not returned yet. The stranger glares at Soo Chang and says that he has found him. He has sharp teeth, a thin, haggard face, and saliva drips from his lips. He calls Soo Chang his food and, leaping into the air, attacks from above. His eyes sparkle red. The mantis man's claw cuts through the place where Soo Chang is standing. The guy dodges, but falls. He can't believe his eyes, the hands of this man. They look at each other, and the stranger's face sparkles with hunger. Soo Chang calls him a monster, and this seems to surprise the stranger. It seems that he sees another insect person for the first time. He says Soo Chang also drank it, an insect repellent or medicine called jungle juice. This is not the first time Soo Chang has heard this name. He remembers the moment when he scared away dragonflies from his house. The mantis reports that after he has become like this, he is haunted by some smell, a very appetizing aroma. Soo Chang, without listening to the rest, breaks off and tries to run away, but the guy still hears the stranger's words. If someone like him eats another beetle, will Soo Chang realize what the smell will be? The mantis swings its claw and answers its own question. A very magnificent smell. Something flies towards the stranger's face, but before the blow occurs, he cuts the thing. The one who threw something turned out to be Mai-hee. Soo Chang falls to the ground and looks at the girl in surprise. As soon as she came out of the toilet, she heard about the evacuation and could not find him, and therefore was very scared. The mantis looks at her with an unreadable look and admits that she is a brave girl. With a crazy expression on his face, he asks her how dare she interrupt him at lunchtime and attack. Soo Chang gets up and shouts for her to leave, but nothing stops the mantis man from attacking Mai-hee. Outside the building, people exchange news that terror has been staged inside the mall. Some girl with a cap on her head, noticing that no one is going to go there, decides to go herself. The window of the building breaks and Mai-ho flies out of it. The mantis calls her a tasteless piece of human flesh, and behind him stands Soo Chang in complete horror. Should he do it? Mai-hee will die if he doesn't help her, but he can't use his wings, at least because he's never flown before. Moreover, there are a lot of people below who can see it. He imagines their judgmental looks and how his life will be ruined. He apologizes to Mai-hee for his helplessness and looks at her frightened eyes, in which tears are frozen. The people below are watching the falling girl with horror and suddenly see a guy flying after her. Soo Chang jumps after her and pulls her arms, and then grabs her right in the air and presses her to him. The mantis man calls him a fool. Even with such abilities, he will die falling from such a height. Soo Chang has simply committed a double-side now. But the guy's eyes are burning with a willingness to save Mai-hee at all costs, and even though everyone is watching now, the girl wanted to help him honestly and sincerely, so jumping after her was the right decision. The wings of the dragonfly cut the clothes on Soo Chang's back, and just before the collision with the ground, he stops. The mantis, left somewhere high up, does not understand what the hell is going on. Soo Chang recalls his words that if you show everyone what you are trying to hide from others, it is equivalent to showing your weak spot. This is the story of the brutal survival of a student who suddenly became weak, revealing his secret to a crowd of people, thereby falling into the stone jungle of natural selection. A girl in a cap looks at it all with her mouth open, wings in the center of the city. Someone's voice comes from her earpiece asking what they will do with it. Should Soo Chang be exterminated? However, the girl takes off her cap from her forehead and now two mustaches are visible in her long black hair. With a smile on her face, she says it would be better to take him to their school. People look after the guy who saved the girl flying away on his wings, although they don't quite understand what's on his back. The mantis is surprised that he has been hiding his wings all this time, and besides, he can soar in one place. How could this bastard do such a thing? Soo Chang, despite the fact that this is his first flight, he is already starting to get used to this feeling. He flies away, and the mantis man realizes that only one insect has such flight abilities, and this insect is a dragonfly. The stranger guesses whose DNA Soo Chang got because of the jungle juice. Soo Chang in search of hospitals fucking unconscious Mai-hee. Thick saliva flows from the mantis' lips. He feels the withdrawal of uneaten prey, dreams of a dragonfly. Suddenly, a black-haired girl will attack him from behind. With one blow, she knocks him out. The girl chastises the mantis. At least he understands what he has done. And did he really not have enough of that video on YouTube? Not only that, the man arranges a riot with murders in the city center. Apparently, the mantis wants to be caught with every fiber of his soul. No one answers her. The stranger is still lying unconscious, drooling. The girl puts a cap on her head and says that the world should not know about their existence. But this phrase referred to two at once, to the mantis and to Soo Chang. A month later, the first semester ends. Students are still discussing what happened in the cinema. What was on the guy's back definitely resembles the wings of a dragonfly, which plunges into real admiration. However, someone still calls him some kind of monster. Here one of the guys draws attention to the fact that flying reminds someone, and suspicious looks immediately fall on Soo Chang. He stands in the shadows, a hood thrown over his head, as if he does not want to be looked at. On that fateful day, news about what happened spread all over the internet and, of course, they reached the university in an instant. Soo Chang nervously adjusts the hood on his head. For the whole month he was afraid that he would be caught and sent for experiments. But there is a silver lining. Many people have treated everything as fiction, but for Soo Chang, this is an all too familiar situation. 12 years ago, kindergarten. A group of children celebrates the birthday of baby Chunyu. The boy blows out the candles on the birthday cake and everyone congratulates him with sincere adoration. Little Soo Chang stands to the side and looks with his pitiful eyes, being completely alone. The teacher, noticing him, immediately says that it would be necessary to call him to the table. It's his birthday after all. However, the children are categorical in this matter. They do not want Soo Chang to sit with them, since they are not close to him. The teacher says that everyone needs to get along. They are friends. One of the children remembers that Soo Chang, in fact, did not even bring a single gift to anyone. They begin to whisper among themselves, although the boy hears everything. The girl tells her friend that he does not give anything because he has no money, and he also doesn't have a mom or dad, and this only hits the already lonely Soo Chang more. Even as a child, the guy was just trying to make friends with the others. However, when you are different from others, it's like a piece of paper hanging on your back about your strangeness, and you can't enjoy the company of your friends, because they simply don't exist. Soo Chang walks down the street and asks the question that torments him most of his life. Why is he not like everyone else? Suddenly he feels the fabric of his cardigan rising from his back and turning sharply. Backhand hits the guy who came up to him, who barely manages to dodge. He says that the guys asked him to check if Soo Chang has wings and does not understand what kind of reaction he had. He returns to the group of guys and is disappointed that he did not manage to reveal Soo Chang, although he is still sure that he was the one on that video. The wings were never noticed, much to the happiness of the dragonfly guy. He pulls the hood as low as possible on his head and is angry that they look at him like an animal in a zoo. Although just a month ago they were called his friends. They went to uni and seemed to be close, and now that close Soo Chang is no more. On the street, the guy is completely alone again. People look at him and whisper, and such an attitude for Soo Chang is worse than the experiments he could have been sent to. He gets on the bus and looks at his phone, remembering that he hasn't logged into social networks for a long time. Many of them unsubscribed from him on Instagram. If earlier there were a little more than 5,000 subscribers, then the number of people hardly exceeds 300 people. There are rumors that the experimental laboratory is investigating the case of the monster with the video, and Soo Chang would not want to be involved in this. Nevertheless, the guy doesn't care how many people unsubscribed from him. He obviously wasn't even close to most of them. Only one person matters to him, Mai-hee. He still has it. Today he found out that she finally came to her senses after all the events. He is sure that everything will be fine. One Mai-hee is enough for him, because if she is nearby, Mai-hee screams in horror and does not allow Soo Chang to approach him. She clutches the pillow with force in her hand, and her whole body is tense with fear. Mai-hee doesn't seem to recognize an old friend. Soo Chang is at a loss. He did not expect such a cold reception. He reaches for her bed with his hand, excitedly asking what's going on with the girl. But the nurse from behind tries to pull him out of the ward, saying that he can't be here. Soo Chang shouts that it's just him, and already 2 employees are kicking him out of the room. He quickly realizes the terrible truth. Mai-hee, who was so kind to him, who worried about him and always smiled, is now looking with eyes filled with horror at his appearance. There is no old Mai-hee anymore, just like there is no former Soo Chang. The girl shrinks from fear, wrapping her arms around her chest, and with a stutter asks not to approach her anymore. She calls him a monster, and this is the last nail in the coffin of the dragonfly. After leaving the ward, he is completely devastated. It seems, even more than on the day of the mantis attack. When he logs into his profile, he sees that Mai-hee is unsubscribing from him. In the apartment, Soo Chang throws off the cardigan that securely hides the wings at the very threshold, and first of all goes to the bathroom, from where warm light pours. He stands in front of the mirror with his wings outstretched, blaming them for his troubles. The guy puts a rag in his teeth and, pulling back one wing, puts scissors to it. They are already open and the wing cloth is between the scissors. You just need to cut them off and it's over. Soo Chang sweats either from tension or from fear, and only one thought beats in his head: it is necessary to cut. The hand with the scissors is shaking, but it can't hurt the wing. They fall to the floor with a bang, and then the guy himself falls to his knees, trembling with grief and his own weakness. Tears flow down his cheeks like a stormy waterfall. He knows that it will hurt, and therefore Soo Chang cannot do such a drastic action. Why is he so pathetic? After another month, nothing changes. Life seems to be getting grayer every day, like the weather in the city. He hears other people talking about impending drunkenness, and understands that a person lives in a group. But there is always someone who gets out of it like an ugly duckling among beautiful white swans. Many of these people choose one end for themselves, which Soo Chang also did when climbing the stairs. And then he finds himself on the roof of a tall building, blown by all the winds of the world. For a duckling like him, there is only one outcome: death. The guy believes that this will make it easier. His eyes are no longer burning with life, and eternal sorrow has frozen on his face. He takes a step and falls. Soo Chang can't suffer anymore. It's too much for him alone. When he is already falling down, the wings open and make the guy hang in the air. Soo Chang is annoyed that he can't even die normally, and again it's all because of his wings. And then the voice of the girl who fought with the mantis tells him that she even envies such wings. She would like to have such. The girl is standing right on the window of the building. Her long black hair is blown by the wind. Soo Chang wonders who this girl is and how long she has been here, but he is more concerned about something else. How does this person hold on to the wall? Meanwhile, she asks him how stupid it is to die with such wings. Does he dislike them that much? The guy still does not know how to react to her appearance and does not answer anything. The girl takes off her cap, showing her insect antennae, and solemnly informs that there is a way to become an ordinary person again. This leads Soo Chang to shock. He can't believe his luck. Does such a way really exist? Moreover, her mustache makes you believe in the words of a stranger, because she is the same as him. The girl is shivering from the cold and asks to start at least to go into the building, as it is cool outside at a high altitude. Already inside, she complains that she could have died from the cold, but suddenly the dragonfly guy presses her against the wall, although it is not permissible for him to treat the girl so rudely at all, and furiously orders her to talk about how he can get rid of the wings. The girl laughs in response, because she does not know the answer. Soo Chang calls the stranger a brat, and suddenly she sets a condition for him, putting the cap back on. He needs to go to an interview at the university, and then the professor will explain to the dragonfly how to return the human body to him. The guy is at a loss from this. He does not understand what professor and university she is talking about. Meanwhile, the stranger continues to tell that a green ring bus is waiting on the ground floor, and if Soo Chang follows her, she will be able to meet with the professor. When the girl is already going down the stairs, the guy reports his doubts about her words. After all, he does not have to believe her, and one mantis once almost killed him anyway. The stranger responds to the guy by saying that since Soo Chang does not believe, he can go on jumping from the roof. The wings will prevent him in any case. However, if the dragonfly guy follows her, then the years of loneliness will end. Soo Chang needs a few more moments to decide. Clenching his teeth and fists, he agrees to this adventure. He can't trust her 100%, but he has nowhere else to go. On the bus, sitting in the back seats, the girl shows him a jar of insect repellent and asks if he knows this. Taking a closer look, Soo Chang realizes that, yes, she is very familiar. She, seeing the reaction, speaks for her. The remedy is called jungle juice, and her face becomes very gloomy at the same time. It mixed animal and human DNA. At one time, this remedy was very popular because of its effect. However, the dilemma is that if you kill an insect, its DNA gets into the human body. Therefore, a part of Soo Chang's body, as happened in the mantis, became a part of the insect's body. The guy is angry because of this explanation. What kind of crazy person created such a tool? But she does not have an answer to this question, since no one knows anything about the creator, neither the company nor the name of the person. It is only known that a large number of people were infected from the jungle juice. Soo Chang immediately tries to find at least some information on the internet, but there is nothing there. The girl says it's because they've covered all the tracks and immediately gets up from the seat. Soo Chang looks at her in bewilderment, does not quite understand who we are, but the girl is not going to go into explanations, apparently. She informs that they have arrived, and the place of arrival surprises the guy not a little. The bus stopped in a tunnel, and the girl approaches a large recess in it by tapping something on the wall and asking if he knows where the tunnels are being built. Soo Chang knows that they are in the mountains and squints when bright sunlight suddenly appears in front of him. The stranger says that they try to avoid people because they live in constant hiding. Taking a step first, the girl informs that their campus is located right here in Nesta. Soo Chang sees a big city with tall buildings, a bunch of green trees, and wide streets. The dragonfly guy comes out of the darkness of the tunnel, looking at this miracle with wide eyes, and asks if this is really a university that is located inside the mountain. Suddenly he stops, because something else, wilder than the city in the mountain, attracts his gaze. The people here are all half insects. Some of them fly under a clear blue sky. Others with antennae, claws, and sharp teeth walk on the ground, calmly communicating with each other. There are no ordinary people here, and this whole area looks like a real jungle. It's hard for Soo Chang to believe that so many people like him are in one place. It blinds him as much as the sun shining in the sky. Is it possible to become an ordinary person in this place? From some building in the window, a recent acquaintance of Soo Chang, a mantis man, shackled up to his neck, notices the same dragonfly. As soon as he slows down his pace, the warden with big horns calls the criminal a fucking monster and asks who allowed him to stop. The warden holds a long stun gun in his hands and orders him to come to his senses, since he missed freedom so much. He stabs the killer with electricity, saying that from now on he is nothing more than a guinea pig. Clenching his sharp teeth and trying not to let the saliva that has appeared out of his mouth, the mantis experiences an attack of the supervisor's rage, and then licks his lips and promises the dragonfly a new meeting. Insect people fly over Soo Chang's head, from which the guy can't take his eyes off. He marvels at this place. No one here looks at him like a monster, and the girl looks at him quite. The guy almost asks that really everyone here is like that, and she, without listening to the question, answers that yes, everything. Everyone here has suffered from the jungle juice. They pass by a cafe with a crowd of insect people, and everyone looks so happy and peaceful. The girl explains that although this place is called a university, in fact, it is a great opportunity to protect such people from the gossip of the outside world. In this place there is even a traffic controller with 4 hands paws. The stranger promised Soo Chang that he would be more lonely. She asks him to go for a walk while she reports the arrival of the dragonfly guy to the pulpit, and then returns to him. Soo Chang is informed that he is the only new student this semester. Finally, he hears "Welcome to Nest," and the girl disappears into the crowd. A dragonfly guy walks through a green park and can't believe that such a fantastic university is located in Korea. There are people of all ages here, from small children playing by the river to elderly pensioners sitting with a cane on the shore. Soo Chang looks around at almost everyone. Everyone here has insect parts, just like him, and the best part is that they don't even try to hide them. The wings on his own back are still hidden by a thick hoodie and cardigan. A beetle flies past him and following him with his eyes. He stumbles upon a large muscular man sitting in a lotus position on a dais that looks like an altar. The age of the stranger is given out by a thick beard covering the entire neck, and the hair on the head is white. His chest is bare, and sweet honey flows down it, on which the beetles flock. Taking one in his strong fingers, he says that he gives honey to insects, and in return they feed his body with protein. Such is the circle of life. Then he opens his mouth and eats the bug. Looking closer, you can see that the insects on his chest are of all different kinds. Soo Chang grimaces, looking at this scene, and asks the man if he is a bug eater by the hour. The old man continues to crunch the beetle when the guy is already leaving and realizes in his head that you will not find normal people in this place during the day with fire. Suddenly, the old man grabs Soo Chang by the bottom of his cardigan and lifts him up along with his hoodie, wanting to find out what kind of bug he is. Under his clothes, he finds thin wings, like a dragonfly. The guy flies away from him, confused by such blatant impudence. The old man, without even touching them, quickly realizes that they are elastic enough to hide them under clothes and not break at the same time. He raises his right hand to his face and the skull tattoo on his hand becomes visible, which drops lower in sharp patterns. The stranger can't help but notice that Soo Chang's wings are in great shape and says they are pretty good. But if that's all true, then why is the dragonfly guy trying to hide them? However, he is in a little panic. It is still uncomfortable for Soo Chang to speak so openly and show his strangeness. He pulls his hoodie down and hides his wings again. The image of a frightened Mai He rises before my eyes, trembling with fear and asking me never to come to her again. In her head, she sounds like she called her friend, the guy she liked and whom she wanted to help cope with all her problems, a monster. For Soo Chang, the words about his wings are a dubious compliment. He turns gloomy and abruptly turns around and leaves, saying that he has come to get rid of them once and for all. The old man rubs his beard and calls him a pathetic fool, but the guy doesn't hear it anymore. In a tall building with many windows, Soo Chang meets the full-time professor of the Department of Insect Advantages, Ma Du-hyun, who holds out his hand to him. This man is more neat in appearance than the guy who met before, in a blue shirt and a jacket on it, neatly trimmed beard and light blue kind eyes. The professor praises the student Hee-jin for bringing the dragonfly guy here. Du-hyun reports that he already knows Soo Chang. He has heard about him from reports. The young man is happy to meet someone who knows how to return him to his former appearance, and therefore firmly shakes the outstretched hand. They are standing in the auditorium of the research building, and Du-hyun decides to get straight to the point. With the help of a remote control, similar to the remote control from the air conditioner, the professor turns on a huge screen on the entire wall and says that he will tell you how to get rid of oddities. To begin with, he offers to watch the video, and Soo Chang is at a loss that everything is happening so fast. A video clip that included the men from their university graduation. On it, graduates give their last speech, and then the best of them go. It's time for the Cinderella ceremony. The man in the video in a black robe passes something to the student, whose head is completely similar to the head of a fly. Even there are wings on the sides. Soo Chang doesn't really understand what's going on. What Cinderella ceremony are they talking about? Besides, the beetle's head looks pretty nasty. The picture on the screen is getting closer, and now you can see that in the hands, from which the human name alone, the graduate is holding a glass filled with liquid. It is unclear what it is, perhaps even alcohol. Having sucked the drink with the help of a long mouth, the student drops the glass and his transformation begins, accompanied by a pink glow. Soo Chang can't take his eyes off this process. His hands become thin with a normal color for a person, and his face drops the terrible mask of a fly, and here in front of him is a beautiful girl who has completely transformed. There are tears in her eyes. He feels her skin, as if he still can't believe what happened. The dragonfly guy demands an answer to his question about what was in the glass. The professor, with his hands behind his back, calmly explains that this is something accidentally created from the juice of the jungle, developed by the research department of their university. The basic principle of jungle juice was used, and the researchers separated the insect DNA. In simple words, they have created a medicine that can return people to a normal human state. And to prove his words, the professor shows a corked bottle of turquoise shade. The medicine is called Cinderella. While the girl from the video is crying in the background, Soo Chang looks at the professor as if he were a god, digesting his words. This is what he needs. He furiously asks for medicine, and Du-hyun, as if he just wanted to tease the boy, hides the bottle behind his back. He is very sorry, but the professor cannot do this. The dragonfly guy is angrily interested in why, and the man immediately explains that Cinderella is not the medicine that is easy to prepare. It is made from a concentrate of jungle juice, because the amount that can be prepared is very limited, because the insect repellent, thanks to which Soo Chang is not there, is very difficult to find. It is simply impossible for them to return everyone to normal life. The guy is incredibly angry about this, but the professor immediately adds that since he wants it so much, he will have to go to university and graduate with the best result in the department. He looks at the happy girl from the video, holding a bouquet in her hands and showered with white petals. She waves her hand. Only the best students get Cinderella, as in the video that Soo Chang just watched. What will he decide to do? In order for him to get medicine, he needs to go to school, but this is a university. What is it? Soo Chang and Hee-jin go outside, where the guy, immersed in his unhappy thoughts, looks down, covering the lower part of his face with his hand. The girl asks him what he will do in this situation, and he begins to talk aloud that Cinderella is given to the best student, so he has no other choice but to enroll and study. However, his girlfriend calms him down by the fact that the choice is always his. If the guy does not want to enroll, he can just stay here and live a quiet life, because it's pretty good in Nesta, although he definitely will not see the medicine then. And even if he does, there is no guarantee that Soo Chang will become the best student in the department. She stops when a guy praises that it's not a question of money, and if it's just about training, then anything is possible. He takes out a pair of black glasses from the case and puts them on himself. Soo Chang is ready to transfer to this university right now. A few hours later, at the entrance to the lecture hall, everywhere there is talk that today is the day of admission. Questions are asked about whose lectures will be attended, And the answer, of course, is the name of Professor Ma. Someone failed the grades last semester, someone is discussing professors. People enjoy ordinary student life, despite their oddities. Soo Chang stands in the middle of the path, wondering that he was transferred here in the blink of an eye. This place is more like a university than he expected. Now he is a student of the Department of Insect Advantages. Hee-jin helped him a lot in this matter when he was confused and did not know where to run because today is the day of enrollment. The girl laughed at him because he says that he will become the best student, but he does not even know which faculty he will study at and most importantly what. She gave him a small guidebook in which all the courses are already written. The guy just needs to choose one of the 3 described in the book. Soo Chang began to study the courses carefully. They had a rather strange name. The first course under consideration is the Practical Fight Against Bugs from Professor Jai-jun. Special notes state that he did not have a single excellent student last semester. Apparently, Hee-jin gave him the wrong notebook. Next comes the course Principles of Nesta Protection, which is taught by Professor Ma Do-hyun. In this class, more than half are excellent students, and there was also no group work. The professor made a good first impression on the newcomer, so he decides to apply for his course of lectures. However, Soo Chang does not miss the idea that all students will need to gather in one place to take entrance exams. Usually in such cases, computer cafes were used. Are there really such good computers in this place? While the student is flipping through the course guide, a white-haired girl with a huge sting behind rushes past him at full speed. She attacks the red-haired guy, grabbing his throat with her thin hand. Soo Chang watches the scene of the fight unfold with shock. The couple is rolling on the ground and it is obvious that the girl is in the lead in the competition. She shouts to her opponent that she warned him not to have a ghost in the university, and now blood is already running from his nose. The new guy can't believe that they started a fight right in the middle of the day among a huge crowd of people. The red-haired guy growls with rage and asks the girl why she climbs into a fight like a psychopath. There are shouts that Hai Soo and Do Hwa are fighting again, and Soo Chang with a sour face calls them hostages of the university he has heard about. Suddenly, Hee-jin's voice asks him not to be afraid, and now she passes by the newcomer. Soo Chang will have to watch such scenes often. Hee-jin grabs the white-haired woman by the collar and pulls her away from another brawler, and then takes the redhead by the collar and throws them in different directions, so much so that they did not even have time to understand what happened. For some reason, Soo Chang is fixating her attention on her friends and Tenny. The red-haired guy tries to get up, asking who dared to throw him away like that, but Hee-jin immediately interrupts him, scolding him for starting a new semester with a fight. Apparently, from these two, the energy is rushing. The brawler, looking up at the speaker, realizes that in front of him is the Ankaf, the representative of the Department of Insect Advantages Park Hee-jin. Soo Chang is surprised. A representative of the department has been with him all this time. He's in the same department with someone like her, it's just a shock. Hee-jin reminds him about the intro as soon as they notice that the dragonfly guy is standing like an idol, and he worries about whether his student life will be normal. Smart audience, 10 minutes before the entrance exam. Soo Chang arrived just in time. After examining those present, he realizes that his chance for a quiet life at the university was missed as soon as he crossed the threshold of Nesta. However, now the main task is to pass the entrance exam. The guy looks intently at the computer, waiting for what tasks they will be given. No matter how well you grasp the material, if you allocate timing correctly, go skip a good course of lectures, then everything will go down the drain. Therefore, no matter what methods, Soo Chang must get into Professor Ma's class. In the main building of the university, Professor Ma looks at the lecture halls from the window and meets his colleague, full-time Professor Jai, the same old man who smeared himself with honey for beetles, and then ate them. He has heard rumors about a new student, and Ma Do-hyun immediately understands who he is talking about, student Soo Chang. As the man heard, Jai-jon had already managed to meet him. Do-hyun is interested in the opinion of a colleague about his figures and how he will be able to pass the entrance exam. Professor Jai recalls Soo Chang's words that he came here to get rid of his wings. The old man grins angrily. The new guy doesn't even have a chance. As soon as the entrance exam begins, all the students fly out or jump out of the window, leaving Soo Chang at a complete loss. It can't be that this is the entrance exam. Professor Jai says that this is the entrance exam to their university, so you'll have to think carefully and win before the others. Become the only winners. Soo Chang looks out the window at the departing students. To pass the entrance exam, you need to become the strongest. The newcomer continues to do nothing, looking at future fellow students flying further away. Where did they all go? Meanwhile, the entrance exam is in full swing. Soo Chang doesn't know what to do. The boy who stayed with him in the audience asks the student if it is true that the dragonfly guy recently transferred to them. Apparently, Soo Chang did not have time to listen to the explanations for the exam. He turns with a question in his eyes and sees in front of him a boy of about 9 with 2 antennae in his short hair. He is dressed in a thick jacket, making the boy plumper, and short shorts in black and orange. The boy promises to tell how the entrance exam is going. Soo Chang can't believe the conditions of passing the test. You need to find a professor. He and the boy are walking through a green forest. The younger one nods, because in Nesta, unlike other universities, students have to find a teacher who is hiding somewhere in the woods, and only after that they can enroll in the class. The professor will give the first 16 students a flash drive, and then it will need to be inserted into a computer standing in the classroom. And then the exam will be completed. Soo Chang immediately realizes that they don't have time for meaningless chatter. Meanwhile, the boy continues to ask. This time he is interested in whose course the newcomer would like to enroll in. The answer here is obvious. The guy intends to go to Professor Ma's course because, as they say, he gives the best grades in the whole university. Soo Chang also says that the purpose of his stay here is to become the best in the department. The boy smiles in response and replies that although it will be difficult to achieve, however, he is impressed. They part ways with the world, the younger one in one direction, the older one in the other, and both in order to find the professor. Soo Chang has a good impression of this guy. It's time to think about your own plan of action. He needs to find a professor, and a lot of time has already passed. Wasn't he too late in that case? The guy moves forward, dreaming to know at least in which direction to look for a teacher, and thinks about the fact that from a hill it will definitely be seen better. But where to find a hill here? There is nothing left to use but the wings on his own back, dropping the cardigan on the nearest tree branch. The dragonfly guy takes off into the air, and surveys the area from a bird's eye view. Now he can see everything at a glance, even where the rest of the participants are going. Bright orange flags with the inscription nest hang at the treetops, and maybe these are the places to fly to. If the assumption is correct, then the professor should be at one of these flags. Here the newcomer notices something else. Insect people are fighting among themselves below. Their fights are fierce and ruthless. But why do they do it? He hears screams, in which there are promises to pile on someone else, and dirty curses. Basically, everyone is fighting because of the lecture courses from Professor Ma, as well as because of the entrance exam in general. However, Soo Chang is perplexed about the fact that how can you go so far for the sake of lectures? Nobody thinks it's too much. But the dragonfly guy decides to fly away from here. He is more than sure that the flags represent the destination points. The only question is which one of them has the professor. Is it worth relying on luck in choosing a point? But the newcomer quickly discards this idea as something attracts his gaze, and he quickly flies to it. At point A, Professor Ma is sitting on a comfortable chair at a table and calmly sipping his drink while reading a book. He raises his head when he notices someone and is surprised to find Soo Chang, who has fallen at his feet, from whom even the pores come from so much rapid flight. The professor quickly recognizes him, and the newcomer smiles contentedly, even though the landing was tough, since it's impossible to fly at such a speed with his eyes open. He found a man. The student's guess turns out to be correct. He simply followed the direction in which everyone else is moving. The truth is that there is a great demand for a good professor, because the point to which the bulk is moving will be the desired one. Soo Chang calculated everything correctly, and the delay at the beginning of the exam only helped to unleash the full potential of the dragonfly's speed. The professor is impressed, and he gives the flash drive necessary for enrollment in his class. The newcomer barely coped with the task. The flash drive remained the last of the 16. Now all that's left to do is go back to the classroom and insert it into the computer. It's easy. The dragonfly guy victoriously presses the flash drive to himself, rejoicing that the exam went even too well. This is the first step to getting the medicine. Soo Chang calmly leaves the mountain, and Professor Ma announces that the drives have run out, and many students who have already come to him have become nothing. The man looks at his phone, because now that all the flash drives are given away, it's time to start. He presses the red send button on his phone, and Soo Chang receives a notification at the same moment. After opening the SMS, he finds himself in a list called Goals for those who want to get into the Nesta Security Principles course. A list with photos, so it won't be difficult to find everyone. Soo Chang is perplexed. What is meant by goals? Ji-John is lying relaxed in his hammock, looking at the message that came. To his surprise, that new student got a flash drive. What he intends to do next, because by this point the guy should have already understood something. The fact that Soo Chang is also not a little surprised by He-Jin, who is standing in the forest, and behind her Hai-Soo and Do-Hwa are fighting. The fun for all students is just beginning, because with the receipt of a flash drive, the exam does not end. A bunch of predators are watching the newcomer and attacking from the back. The dragonfly guy barely dodges, and the bigger guy continues the attack. His powers came from a barbel beetle, which is strong enough to destroy a tree. Soo Chang gets scared, does not understand why he was so suddenly and brutally attacked by stealth. He runs away with all his legs, and in the meantime he demands to give up the drive. Now the newcomer is attacked by a flagellated spider, hunting with the use of its hands Miknut, which grow directly from the back. The demands shock the guy. They are ready to kill him for the sake of a flash drive. With the help of wings, he dodges all attacks, and finally realizes what was meant by the definition of a target. Oh, well, why is this entrance exam so lame? It seems that almost every student who takes part in the exam is now hunting for Soo Chang. He flies away from his pursuers, but there are too many of them for him alone. From a niche in the ground, a dragonfly guy is called by someone's voice. Looking down, he sees the boy who helped him in the beginning, explaining how the exam will take place. Insect people are like search dogs, trying to figure out which way the newcomer disappeared. But after a while they leave. Soo Chang is happy to be alive. He thanks the younger one and at the same time tries to catch his breath, rejoicing that he met such a kind boy as this boy. He awkwardly rubs his forehead, not understanding what kind of kindness he is talking about. The next second, he was already putting a sharp finger to the elder's forehead with a joyful expression, calling his words about kindness unheard of nonsense. A thin sting comes out of the boy's finger, which leaves a neat trace in the center of the elder's forehead, and he still does not realize what happened. He falls to his knees and then realizes that his body is not moving. The boy unclenches his fingers with the flash drive and takes it for himself. He explains that what got into Soo Chang's body is the venom of a honeybee, which is able to secrete a small amount of strong poison. For a while, the newcomer will be completely paralyzed. The B-boy is triumphant. He finally managed to get Professor Ma's flash drive. It turned out to be very profitable to pretend to be a good man. Did Soo Chang really think that someone would help him here? What kind of fool is he in this case, because everyone here is rivals? And what normal person would help his enemy? He adds that the essence of the entrance exam is to force students to fight among themselves, so that only the strongest remain. The boy promises to make sure that the drive will serve him well. Finally, he advises the newcomer to try better next year, although someone like Soo Chang will not become the best student in any case. And then the deceiver flies away. The dragonfly guy looks after him and realizes that he will not become the best in the department, and in general, if he lets this kid take his flash drive so easily, there will be no Cinderella without her. The student pulls out a small sting from his forehead and stands up with difficulty, and the next moment Soo Chang is already hovering high in the air, trying to catch up with the thief. Without a flash drive, he will not become an ordinary person again. B turns her head in the direction of the pursuer and pretends to be surprised that he has become an example of removing all restrictions. However, what happened? Did the dragonfly guy become slower because of the poison? The boy laughs arrogantly and advises not to waste energy, since in this case the poison will spread faster through the body. Soo Chang has to catch up with him. Suddenly, the eyes of the newcomer acquire a rich green hue and all the subsequent movements of the thief become visible to him. How he will zigzag from the current position, and then return to the current trajectory. The newcomer easily sees where he will be in the next moment. This is due to the fact that the dragonfly, called the Queen of the Hunt, has a success rate of 95%. The secret of such success lies in the eyes of a small predator, since having a faceted structure, her eyes consist of thousands of small eyes that cannot be seen without magnification. These fantastic eyes are able to detect the slightest movement in a radius of 360 degrees. Thanks to this ability, dragonflies read the movements of the victim and predict its trajectory during the hunt. The moment Soo Chang thought that he wanted to catch the B-boy at all costs, the kid automatically became a victim for the dragonfly, which he would never miss. The thief looks in surprise at the rapidly approaching student, whose eyes sparkle green from afar. Soo Chang punches his chin, knocking the wind out of him. 1,000 dragonfly eyes will never lose sight of their prey. Women's hands insert a red flash drive into the computer connector and information about the enrollment of this student in Nest lights up on the screen. Hee-jin lets out a relaxed sigh, glad that she's finished. How much time is there left before the end of the exams for the rest of the students? The red-haired guy turns to her from his seat at the desk and asks about the young man she brought here. Will he be okay? After all, the entrance exam is not for the weak and unprepared. Besides, the representative of the department should know how many people want to enroll in the course of Professor Ma. The guy adds that if you do not meet the deadline, then the exam is automatically considered failed. Hee-jin doesn't answer, but he can't help but think about the new guy. If he really wants to become the best student in the department, then the flash drive will have to be protected at the cost of his own life. No one will care deeply whether you are ready for this or not. After so much hard hitting, the B-boy drops the flash drive, and he flies away somewhere far away. Soo Chang himself cannot see how far the drive has gone, but as he notices, he rushes after it with all the strength of his wings. A few millimeters remain, he almost reaches out, but then someone's palm intercepts the dragonfly's target. A formidable-looking girl with powerful legs thanks for such a nice gift. Soo Chang does not follow her further, watching as the stranger leaves with his flash drive. He is about to give chase when he suddenly sees the B-boy falling down without trying to slow down. Wait a second, why is he still falling without trying to take off? He's going to crash, falling from such a height. Don't you dare tell the new guy that B passed out with one blow. However, the reality is that the youngster does not come to consciousness, continuing to gain speed before hitting the ground. If Soo Chang saves the boy, he will miss the flash drive. If he chases after the girl, the younger one will be crushed to a pulp. Besides, the little thief attacked him first, so it's not the student's fault that he found himself in this position. The boy is flying headfirst down and now there are a few centimeters left before the collision with the ground. He brought this on himself, Soo Chang doesn't have to help him. But still he flies and grabs the youngster by the jacket, not letting him die. The new guy can't pretend he doesn't see anything. He's not like everyone else here at all, not wild and not inhuman. The student rises into the air with the thief and realizes that as a person, he would not allow this to happen. The boy is left on a tree branch, and Soo Chang himself flies on. He's finished. It's a complete failure because he missed the thief. What should he do now? At least the dragonfly guy still has a chance that he can find another flash drive. However, he is tired and unable to control his wings, falls into the bright green foliage of a tree, and then to the ground. The body ceases to obey the owner. Has the poison really begun to take effect? With heavy breathing, Soo Chang realizes that he will probably die like this because of the damn entrance exams. No, it can't end so easily. You need to collect your thoughts, but there is a fog in your head that does not allow you to concentrate. A rude voice says that what he sees in front of him is a pitiful sight. Professor Jai orders him to get up while chewing cookies from the package. Soo Chang struggles to get up on his hands and asks how long he was out that he didn't even notice the old man's approach. The student remembers where he saw this man, when he was sitting on a pedestal covered in honey and beetles. The professor turns around, rudely asking why he is lying here, because he needs to go. Although there is no sense anymore, the entrance exam is over. Soo Chang's heart sinks into his heels. How could he have screwed up like that? However, the old man also adds that, to be more precise, there are still 5 minutes left, but this does not matter at all. Not a single flash drive should remain. No matter how sad it was to admit it, the dragonfly guy will have to wait for next year, and there will still be no guarantee that Cinderella will not end by that time. Soo Chang asks him to stop. He was attacked surreptitiously, thereby taking away the flash drive, and then he lost consciousness because of the poison. Isn't this calculated as a scam? The old man stops and, turning his head slightly, calls the boy a pathetic bastard, who apparently has nothing in his head but sawdust. What was he counting on when he told this? Is it worth making an exception for the newcomer and allowing him to retake? What nonsense. The old man says that the most important thing in this university is to be strong. And if Soo Chang has a goal, then he should fight for it. And the student doesn't have to worry about cheating. The professors are watching everyone. They eliminate all dangers that may threaten the lives of students. But is it really so necessary? Because jungle juice turns people into weapons. They have horns, poisons, claws become as dangerous as insects. Did the newcomer really expect that at the institute, where there are a lot of dangerous people, at lectures they would just read books in class? If Soo Chang is attracted to this kind of activity, then he has a direct route to the Nesta Civil Protection Center. Staying there, the guy will be able to live a quiet and peaceful life of a beetle man. The old man throws the cookie wrapper to the dragonfly guy and asks him to throw it away, since he's already hanging around anyway. The professor says to take care of the planet, and not forget to sort the monster. Soo Chang remains alone in the forest, not believing that everything is already over. In the end, he didn't go anywhere. If the student hadn't saved that boy, would he have been able to catch up with that thief? The newcomer squeezes the wrapper in his fist and leans against his forehead, admitting that he is really garbage. He swears at the whole neighborhood, almost throwing the piece of paper aside, when suddenly he remembers the words about sorting garbage. Soo Chang is already upset about this whole situation, and the old man also asks him to sort the garbage. What can be sorted there? Opening the package, he finds a red flash drive inside. The old man's voice reminds me that there are still 5 minutes left before the end of the exam and that there is not a single flash drive left. Soo Chang looks at the setting sun and realizes that he still has a chance. In the forest, Professor Jin meets Du Hyun. It's almost hard for the latter to believe that he gave the flash drive to that student so easily. Doesn't the dragonfly guy annoy Ji John? Or does he have some special reason? Professor Jai is silent for a couple of moments and then easily admits that he wants to have a whipping boy with him. Soo Chang has almost no time left, and flying at such a speed, he only loses it. The wind hurts his eyes, but if he closes them, he will not be able to land properly, as it was on the hill where Professor Ma was sitting. He can't fly faster, but suddenly he remembers something, abruptly stopping, and takes out a case with glasses from his pocket. They are the way out. Now dust and dirt will get into the eyes less. The speed increases significantly. At the entrance to the lecture hall, a group of guys are sitting relaxed in the trees, waiting for someone to return to the building with a flash drive. Why do something if you can squeeze out a flash drive right in front of the university and do a quick thing? Some guy agrees. Soo Chang flies in the sky, and predatory smiles appear on the faces of the people below. They expect an easy hunt. Their expectation has finally paid off and the loot is practically flying into their hands. It's time to act. They stand in a fighting stance, ready to attack. But suddenly only a stream of air seems to rush past them, and Soo Chang flies further away. Now they are running after him, amazed that he turned out to be so nimble. The plan did not work. Now their new task is to appear as soon as possible in the audience and already there to take away the flash drive. However, the girl reminds me that this is against the rules in general. Suddenly, a red-haired guy appears in front of the violator and says that he is well aware of this ban. The redhead steps up, and the intruder stumbles over her, flying a few meters forward. He asks what kind of freak dared to trip him up, and then suddenly the whole spirit is knocked out. Above him is a girl, Chun Du Hwa, constantly fighting with Cha Hai-sun, a red-haired guy who attacked the intruder. They both study in the first year of the Department of Insect Advantages. Hai-sun recalls that fighting in buildings is prohibited, and Du Hwa calls these people brainless extras. The girl's foot ruthlessly descends on the guy's face, not allowing him to be indignant or get up. Hee-jin is standing nearby, having received a message from Professor Jai. It said that if she had nothing to do, then let her go help the newcomer. Looking at the violators, she is not too happy with their behavior, but it is worth remembering that Professor Jai is not one of those people who just talks about this. The girl does not know how her new friend so conquered the old man, but this is quite a good result for an incoming student. Soo Chang, covered in sweat and dust, flies on his thin wings into the audience, seeing only a working laptop in front of him. He inserts a red drive, without taking a breath, presses something on it and sees the long-awaited inscription that enrollment in the course Practical Fight Against Bugs is completed. Soo Chang exhales. He was lucky to make it to the end. Of course, this is not Professor Ma's class, which the student originally wanted to get into, but now is not the time to be picky. If the newcomer tries harder than the others, he will still be able to claim the title of the best student of the department. Suddenly, an alert comes to the laptop and, just relaxed in a chair, Soo Chang sits down straight and looks at the screen.